Right. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everyone. Welcome to Umesh Shah Presents Sunday Life and Learn Talks. Resilience is the capacity to recover or spring back quickly from difficult situations. Being resilient does not mean that people don't experience stress, emotional upheaval, and suffering. Our speaker today is Gracy Andrew, who will be talking to us about being resilient. Gracy Andrew is currently the Vice President and Country Director of Corestone, a US based company that develops and provides personal resilience programs to improve well being for youth worldwide, focusing on adolescent girls as critical change agents in their communities. Gracie qualified with distinction as a clinical psychologist from the Academy of Online Therapy based in the UK, and she is a tutor on the course as well. She has been involved in developing various interventions and training programs for youth in the areas of mental health and adolescent health. She has contributed to training resources at the national level in India. She is a member of the World Health Organization's Guidance Development Group for promotional programs on global adolescent mental health. Gracie is also a co-author of several publications in India and across the globe. Without taking more time, Gracie, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mish. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone who is here. Uh, I will it's not changing my slide. Okay. So today I will talk about a little bit about resilience, what it is. I'm going to talk about what are these skills? What are these skills that there's a lot of research that has gone deep around these skills, and what are they? What helps us build resilience? Mostly from the field of positive psychology. And then at the end, I'm going to also give you a glimpse about a resilience program that we're doing in India. And if there's time, a small activity, depending on how much time we have. So if you actually uh, put the word resilience on Google search, you'll find so many different articles around resilience. It's become like the buzzword. Everybody's talking about resilience. But when we talk about resilience, people talk about it in different contexts. Sometimes we talk about resilience of the health system. We talk about resilience of urban cities. We talk about social resilience. We talk about physical resilience. So resilience also is seen in different contexts. But here, when I talk about resilience, I'm going to focus on emotional resilience. And emotional resilience is the ability, as Umesh said, it's an ability to be able to bounce back. And not just to bounce back when you're facing adversity or when you're facing difficulties, but it you learn from it and you thrive from it. That's resilience. And for many, many years, we thought that resilience was innate, that we're born with resilience. But over the last 50 to 60 years, there has been a lot of research that has been done in this area. And we know that it is a set of skills. And it's a simple set of skills that can be taught. So let's look at what we have there. I'd like to start with asking a question, asking you to reflect on these questions. Is what do we want in life? And I welcome people to put your answers in the chat. What do we all want for ourselves? What do we want for our world? Umesh, can you kind of, is
I
anyone?
will. I will. Yes, if you can put your answers in the chat, I will read them out. Or in fact, if it's a fairly small group, so if
Can you take, yeah.
if you want to unmute and raise your hand, and I will unmute you, and you can talk.
Anyone?
Okay, we've got somebody. So someone's saying happiness, good
Mm-hmm.
health, peace, good health. So still waiting. So we've got two people who have said
Thank you. Yeah. So
equality.
equality. Great. So yes, if you look at what we've said, what we really want is to feel good. All of us want to feel good. We want to feel, we want to have good relationships, whether it's our families or our friends. We want to be successful, you know. And when I say when we feel good, like what somebody said, good health, to have peace, have good relationships, to have peace within our family or within our community. We want the world to be a better place, and we want our lives to have some meaning. So generally, if we look at what we really want, these are the things we all want in life. We all strive for this in life. So that's what uh, positive psychology actually is uses these scientific methods to study this. They study on how to understand, how to flourish, and how to what are the steps that one can take to increase one's well-being. So this field of work operates mostly on what you call a strengths model, looking at what are the strengths within us. It doesn't mean that you don't look at your weaknesses, but you maximize your strengths. That's what this field talks about, and it's so closely related to how one builds one's resilience. And it has been found that all the research and learnings from this field of positive psychology give us a very valuable lens on how to cope with the crisis of the COVID, how to how to cope with the crisis that all of us are facing globally, everybody is facing right now. So it was Martin Seligman, who is a founder of positive psychology, who came up with this model, which he called the PERMA model in 2011. And I'm going to kind of in the next few slides take you all through some of the PERMA and other aspects of positive psychology and emotional intelligence, uh, and connect it to how we can use this in these circumstances within the circumstances of the pandemic. So he came up with this PERMA, which includes what we call positive emotions, engagement, relationships or authentic connections, meaning and achievement. And he said that these are the building blocks that help us develop well-being, help us flourish, and help us to be happy. So the first one is positive emotions. So for when we say focus on positive emotions, it doesn't mean that we always have to keep smiling. A lot of people think, oh, you have to keep smiling and looking very positive to people, and that's positive emotions. Positive emotions is much, much more deeper. It's the ability to remain optimistic. It's the ability to actually to look at our past, to look at our present, and to look at our future in a very different perspective. To be able to when you have positive emotions, it helps you to be creative. And you might ask me, how is it possible for us to be positive? How is it possible for us to not to feel positive emotions when COVID is happening? Worldwide studies have shown that people are being feeling anxious, people have lost family members, they're grieving, there's so much of anger. And in all this, how can you feel positive emotions? That's what you'll ask me. But actually, research has found that even in the worst humanitarian crisis, when people face a lot of very, very difficult emotions and trauma, they exist or coexist with this some amount of positive emotions. So when I say that we have to focus on positive emotions, it does not mean that you have to push off your fear or you have to push off your grief. You have to push off your sadness. What is important is to able to find events and strategies and things that you can do that make you also feel joy or feel hope. I myself have I used to be a very pessimistic person who in the past. But I found, in fact, over time, I found how I need to really look at the small positive events that happen around me. And I really realized that I had made the change that happened in my life only when COVID happened. When there was a lockdown, we were not able to get out, we were stuck in the house. And that's when I realized that I have changed. There's a change that I'm able to kind of find ways to create events or create some tasks that also bring in positive emotions. So, for example, you're stuck at home with your family. Think about it. How can you have fun together? And there are families who've done that. Maybe get together and play a game. Maybe learn some new dance steps. Maybe bake a cake together. So there are many, many ways by which we can feel these positive emotions and savor these positive emotions. And when we do this together, when it coexists with others, it also creates what you call a collective effect. And this term is what we call is positivity resonance. That is, together you bring in a lot of positive emotions within the space that you're in. And this has helped a lot of people during COVID. In fact, there are programs that have been developed and given online to groups where they have included certain tasks by which they can bring in these positive emotions together with their families and friends. And that kind of balances out or works alongside with this difficult emotion that people face and helps people face and cope with the stress. So that was the first part of PERMA. The second one is engagement. So we all enjoy doing certain activities. Sometimes we get so busy with our lives that we kind of sometimes don't even pay attention to these things that we like to do. Some of us like to play an instrument. Some like cooking. Some may even just like ironing or cleaning the house or going for a walk. But what is important is to be engaged in what you do. And getting engaged is to immerse and feel joy when you're doing that task. To focus so much in the task that it impacts your well-being. And they say that that kind of engagement for releases certain hormones in our brain and elevates our sense of well-being. What we call is flow. It's very, very powerful, and it has a very powerful impact on our intelligence and our capacities. Now, again, one would say, how is that possible? When you're working from at home, many of us had to work from home. We're still working from home, Or even if you're traveling, there's a lot of anxiety about travel, or even if you're going to office, you're not meeting all your colleagues. How can we find flow? But we have to look for these tasks. We have to look at what we can do, where we can immerse ourselves in and do them. And from my own personal experience, I can tell you that during lockdown, when we were stuck at home, so I did, for example, on weekends, start baking. I started baking, which I'd never done for a long time, uh, and reading. So, I love reading crime novels. I would read, and I would really get immersed in these tasks. And at the end of it, when I finished a book or I baked a cake, at the end of it, I could feel myself lifting, and that's flow. So that is another uh, a skill that helps us deal with adversity. The third one is relationships. It's part of PERMA. Now, it's very important for all of us to have positive relationships. And we do have relationships with our parents, our siblings, our friends, our co-workers. And having healthy relationships doesn't mean that you need to have lots of friends. It could be just one meaningful relationships. But it is important that it is meaningful, that you can feel the love in that relationship. You can feel you can share with this person. You feel like giving. You want to give so much to these people in your life. That's being meaningful. And as you know, COVID has created a lot of disruptions in relationships. People have been stuck together in their home. There's been conflicts, sometimes violence. And in some cases, there's been distance, like you cannot meet your parents, you cannot meet some loved ones who live far away. So when I say how, have authentic connections, you again will ask me, how can we do that with all the disruptions that COVID has brought in? But we have to put efforts to improve the quality. You may not have the quantity in terms of time that you can spend, but the quality of the relationships. So, in simple words, it makes a difference when you start appreciating something that your loved one has done. Showing empathy. Now, empathy is used very loosely, but it's not that easy to feel empathy. To be able to listen to people and to feel with them and to be with them when they're having problems, when they're talking to you. To be able to reach out. You may not be able to reach out to your family members personally, you may not be able to go there, but we can use a phone, or we can have family gatherings on Zoom, or a video call, or there are many different ways by which we can talk to our family members and listen to them, share what your feelings, share your experiences, appreciate people. And by this, we can, by these small steps, we can actually make our relationships stronger. In fact, a lot of people I talked to found that it was the first time that families were together, had to stay for hours together in their house. And we found that they actually shared that, for the first time, they actually started building relationships. Before COVID or before the lockdowns, people did not have time for even their family members, for their siblings or for their parents. And suddenly everybody was at home and they had to spend time together. In some cases in India, it was small spaces and people were stuck in small spaces. But some families found that it gave a new life to the family or to the relationships. Uh, Sometimes they've not talked to their parents for a long time, and they started talking to them. They started understanding many things that they did not. The other thing is to be other focused. is to be able to kind of build relationship by focusing on the other, like doing things, doing deeds of kindness to other people around you. So in this way, even with the disruptions of COVID, one can develop authentic connections and feel better. The next one, as part of PERMA, is meaning. Now, it's important for all of us to have meaning in life. When I say meaning, it means like feel having a purpose in life, having some kind of feeling of significance. And people find different ways to find meaning. Some people find meaning in religion and spirituality. Some people find meaning in their work. Some people find meaning in their children, raising their children. Others volunteer, for some causes. And you can actually, it is important for us to look for that meaning in life. And one can find creative ways to find that meaning. There's been a lot of research that has happened during COVID, and they have found that when people found meaning in life, it helped them buffer the the stress that was caused by COVID. And people found many ways by which they could find that meaning in life. Some people volunteered, uh, uh, helping the people were sick by getting groceries for them. Some people were cooking food for people. People were volunteering in even having free counseling sessions. So a lot of people found different ways or different activities that they got into to help them deal with the stress, and because it gave them meaning. In fact, a study that was done of frontline workers found that even though they were suffering and there was a lot of stress during the period when the surge was high, many of them talked about feeling that there was a purpose in life, there was a meaning in life when they were working in hospitals. So finding a meaning in life is again a very, very important aspect that helps us deal with stress. And the next part of PERMA is achievement, a sense of accomplishment. It's important for us, even otherwise, all of us, we have ambitions in life. We want to accomplish, we want to be successful, but it's important to have goals. And when you set goals, the goals have to be realistic. So putting efforts or working on these goals, working on trying to achieve a goal gives a person satisfaction. Again, you might ask me, how is that possible in the COVID situation? It might feel impossible. I've lost my job. I have, my family is ill. How can I even think of achieving anything? It has been found that even setting small goals and achieving each one helps you go a long way in coping with stress. So when the lockdowns happened, I have a staff around 60 working in in one of the states in India, in Bihar, and we actually started talking to each other. We formed small support groups and helping each other set goals. So people started listing things that they've never done, been able to do, like doing a course or learning to write. There are people in India who want to learn to write in English, like write well. There are others who wanted to do other courses in, say, learning something like simple thing like how to use an Excel sheet. So people started setting up these goals, and then they were being accountable to each other on how do we kind of meet these small
Manam,
goals.
just quiet that is dealing with it.
Zoom matter.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hello?
I sorry about that, Gracie. Carry on. Just a bit of interruption there. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so this really helped. In fact, uh, as you heard me say, I did my course on online counseling, and that was a goal that I set for myself when the lockdown happened. I said, "Oh, now I don't have to travel. I have to work from home. This is the time when I can do this course. It's an online course." And it was very difficult to do it with all the other things that I was doing. But I took it, week by week and set the goals for myself. And I'm quite feeling quite proud of myself that I actually completed the course with a distinction. So, and then it gave me the sense of achievement, accomplishment that, oh, I actually planned to do this and I completed it. So this actually really helps you in a situation like the COVID. When you set yourself goals, you're realistic about it, and then you kind of, even if it's a big goal, divide it into smaller goals and achieve them as you go. Now, moving a little away from the PERMA model and bringing in some more very important skills that help us to be resilient. The first one is self-compassion. Self-compassion is not very easy to understand, but it's a very, very important skill. Self compassion is treating yourself with kindness, treating yourself with care and concern, the same kindness and care that you would show your family or your friends. So when we talk about self compassion, it means that you're still mindful of your pain. If you're sad, it's not that you ignore your sadness, but you look at your sadness, you look at your situation that's making you feel bad or feel the pain, but you look at it also from a perspective that's balanced. You don't exaggerate. So very often when there's something that's bad, we kind of say everything is bad, it's horrible, life sucks. You don't do that. You look at it in balance, you validate it, you don't exaggerate it, but you embrace the suffering. You give yourself the kindness and care that you need to be able to deal with that suffering. And sometimes, especially in a situation where the COVID, you recognize that there's a shared nature of the suffering, that there are many of us suffering together. And there are many ways to practice self-compassion. You have you have mindfulness, and actually there are many activities online that you can find around mindfulness and meditation, through which you can actually practice self-compassion. Self-compassion has been also found through all the research that was pulled out during COVID that this is one skill that has helped people deal with the stress of the pandemic. So it's important for us. It's not easy to, as I said, to understand, but it's something if you really practice and try to kind of give yourself that care and kindness that you give others, you can feel good about yourself. Another skill that has been found to be really useful during this period is gratitude. Grateful feeling has been found to lower stress, and it has helped increase positive emotions and life satisfaction. Now, again, you would ask me, how can we feel grateful during COVID? Everything has been so difficult. How can we feel grateful? What is it there to feel grateful? You know, there's economic difficulties that it has caused, there's illness in the family. But research has found that people who are able to cope had greater tendency to express gratitude. And it doesn't have to be gratitude for large gestures. It can be small gestures that you experience. Somebody helps you with something, somebody gives you a kind word. Your supervisor is kind and says it's okay, even if you missed your deadline, you can take some time off. That expressing even family members, appreciating and expressing gratitude for what they have been doing for you helps bring in a lot of positive emotions within you. And there are many ways by which one can practice gratitude. There are ways by which you can express it. People write gratitude journals, where you can spend every evening writing a few lines on gratitude. It can be gratitude for just being alive. It can be gratitude for all your talents that you have. It can be gratitude for so many different things. It doesn't have to be gratitude only for what people do to you, even for the things that you have. So really consciously feeling gratitude helps lower stress and increase positive emotions. The next one is recognizing our strengths. Now, within positive psychology, there's a whole concept of character strengths, and there are 24 character strengths, which is there in this picture. But even if you don't know about the character strengths, that all the 24 character strengths, we all know that we have our strengths. Some have humor, some have courage, some have kindness, some have creativity. And people have used these strengths during this time. When things go bad, there are people who are so humorous that they make you laugh, and that's their strength. Some people are so courageous, they find ways, even in within the difficulties, to find ways out of the difficulties that they're facing. Some people have kindness is their strength, and that's what comes out when there's adversity around. Some of us are creative. We use creativity. There are people I know who have used creativity during the pandemic by getting into painting. Somebody made a series of paintings of his travels. People started writing. So there are different ways of using your strengths. But it's not just using your strengths to be able to deal, but recognizing them, recognizing how you have been using and coping in this period. And it has been found, research has found that when you help children and young people to recognize their strengths and show them how they've been using their strengths, it helps them cope, and it helps your young people to find meaning. So it's very important for us not only to recognize our own strengths, but to help people around us to recognize their strengths and help people not just recognize that they're having the strength, but how they're using them. And when we do that with each other, it not just builds our relationships, the authentic connections I was talking about, it also helps you have positive emotions, and it helps you cope. So recognizing strengths again is a skill that we all can use when we have adversity. And finally, and in the set of skills that I was talking about, is being solution focused. So many of us tend to delve on our problems, and problems can be never ending. If you start thinking about your problems, you can kind of list them, and it can go on and on. But what is important is to step back, look at your problem or the challenge, and start looking at solutions. It can be done anyway. When lockdown happened, and we in India, we have maids coming in to clean and to help you with your housework. And suddenly there was, with the lockdown, we had to stop everything. So you had to manage your groceries, find ways to get groceries. You had to find ways to manage your housework. So what we did was we sat as a family and we said, okay, this is a challenge. What is it that each one of us can do about it? And then we brainstormed, and everybody came up with some solutions to handle the challenging situation and divided the work. So someone who was one of the family member who's good tech savvy started looking at, okay, how do I create the lists, and how do I get the groceries, how do I find online outlets to get groceries, how do we create the lists that are needed, how do you manage the housework, who does the cleaning. So this uh, you know ability to be able to step back and looked at the challenging situation as a challenging situation, not as a problem, and brainstorm and come up with solutions, helps you to be forward focused. And that is another very important skill that helps us to deal with stress. So with this, I've kind of covered the number of skills that we can use when we face any adversity, including the present situation where during the pandemic. And it may be lockdowns may be over, in some places it's opening up, but there'll be a lot of adjustment that we have to do as we move to schools, or we move to colleges, or we move to our workplace. And I think some of these skills will help us to bounce back and deal with whatever we have to deal with in the near future. So in the next part of my talk, I'm going to talk about a little bit about our work in India. Because when I talked about Burma, it might feel, oh, so many different skills. Is it possible for us to use it? And I want to talk about how we have taught young adolescents in India to use these skills and how they have used it during the pandemic. So a little bit about the program. So Costone has developed a number of programs, school-based and community-based, where we've integrated psychosocial resilience and physical health curriculum for youth and women. So these are 1 hour sessions that are held for the children or the youth by either the teacher or a community mobilizer, a peer support model where they sit in a circle and the teacher transacts. It's a train-the-trainer model, and we work in 3 countries, Kenya, India, and Rwanda. And a lot of the practices are taken from the field of positive psychology, social emotional learning, and restorative practice. So you can see how the children sit in a circle here. We work in government schools, and these are very, very vulnerable populations in some of the poorest states in India. We work in government schools, we work in residential schools for girls, and we've been working for the last several years and now closely working with the government on how to take this to the entire state. How do we scale this program to the entire state? This is where you train, the Costone trains local partners or the government trainers who then train the teachers, and the teachers conduct the program in schools for the students. So some of what I've been talking to you all is included in the curriculum or in the program. I was talking about character strengths. I was talking about goal setting and planning. I was talking about emotions, gratitude, listening. So all these problem solving, we teach these in schools to the children. We also include some information around health and gender. And we have been conducting a lot of research and found that it has shown improvements in a number of areas. It has shown improvement in emotional resilience of the children, self-efficacy, the ability to cope, setting goals, the ability to for problem solving, health knowledge. There are a number of papers there on our website, and there are videos that one can see. So at the end, I will show you the name of the website, and anyone who's interested can look at what we do. And this is actually a short video that it's a very, very short, but this girl talks about how she's used certain skills during the pandemic. So I will put this on. Can you hear?
No.
नमस्ते, मेरा नाम निकी कुमारी है। मैं KGBV रजौना चौकी में पढ़ती हूँ। मेरा घर लखीसराय जिले में है। मैं 8th क्लास में पढ़ती हूँ। कोर स्टोर समुत्थान के बारे में हम ट्रेनिंग लिए हैं। इसी से मैं दृढ़ता और आत्मनियंत्रण को अपनाई हूँ। अभी जो हमारे देश में कोरोना वायरस फैल रहा है तो हमें डरना नहीं है, बल्कि दृढ़ता से रहना है, साबुन से हाथ धोना है, लॉकडाउन का पालन करना है, बाहर नहीं निकलना है, साफ सुथरा रहेंगे, अपने घर को साफ सफाई से रखेंगे। अगर किसी को खांसी बुखार है तो उससे दूरी बना कर रखेंगे, डिस्टेंस बना के रखेंगे। और मैं अपने मम्मी पापा के साथ प्यार के चारित्रिक गुण अपना रही हूँ। और मैं अपने घर में अपने मम्मी पापा के भाई बहन को, अपने पड़ोसी को भी बताती हूँ कि आप सभी अच्छे से रहें, सुरक्षित से रहें, सेफ से रहें, साबुन से हाथ धोएं अच्छे से और साफ सुथरा रहें। साफ सफाई पर ध्यान दीजिए, मास्क लगाइए, अगर आपके पास मास्क नहीं है तो सफेद रुमाल लगाइए, तभी हम कोरोना से बच सकते हैं। और लॉकडाउन को अपनाना है, तभी हम कोरोना से मेरा देश जीतेगा। धन्यवाद।
How do I put this off? Should I go to the next slide? Okay. So with that, I kind of have talked to you both about our program and about, about the skills that we can use to build resilience. So I wanted to do this small activity. Do we have time, or should we go into
Yes.
questions?
We've got 10 minutes, and there are just, I think there's one question which I have got on in the chat, but apart from that, I just wanted to request a couple of people to talk about their experiences as well. But I think we've got a little bit of time, so Gracie, carry on.
Yeah, just to give you a glimpse of what it feels in terms of getting positive emotions, I'd like you to reflect and write down 3 things that have happened in the last week, and just think about what has happened, a good thing that has happened, good things that happened in the last week, and what you have done to contribute to that. It could be a small thing. You could have just gone out for dinner, or it could be something big. You learned some new skill. But think about it and just put it down and think about what is it that you did to contribute to these good things in the last week. I'll just give you 2 or 3 minutes, and then maybe people can share, and we can, and then you can ask me questions.
Is either put your answers on chat, or if you want to talk, then let me know and I'll unmute you. So we got one answer coming through saying, been able to spend time with the family this weekend and have done loads of activities. Helping neighbors' kids, pray more, and communication in the family is better. Rahini says, I've been organized, prepared, and she has prepared her meals. Malik Sultan says, basically spend more time at home.
Thank you. These are good sharings. And when you think about these good things that happen, and you think about it consciously of what you've done to do that, how did you feel? How did people feel?
Okay, so we've got some more answers coming through. Karima says, at work, onboarding of new students on a 4-month assignment, participated in the orientation. Rahini says she felt really happy. Namara says had a 30 minutes in the community praying with women and girls. Awesome moments. Namara runs a charity in Uganda, and she does quite a lot of work with women and women empowerment.
Yeah, so the idea about this activity was sometimes if you kind of consciously try to do that, even every day, at the end of the day, if you start, just spend 2 minutes thinking of what is it that, you did that was good on the day, or something that made you feel good. It really makes your day, or brings in a lot of positive emotions. And it has been found as an activity that it has actually been researched that when depressed patients were given this activity on like a number of days for 1 month, you could see the change in their scores. It's a very, very powerful activity that one can do. So with that, I'll stop uh, my presentation, and if there are any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Gracie. So one of our youngest listeners and somebody who's joined the talk today, he's saying basically he's had the opportunity. This is Manav. Manav says he's had the opportunity to listen to a wonderful lecture such as this, and returning to school and seeing friends. That's very good, Manav. Um, so there was one question which Gracie, there was one question, and I just want to uh, ask that question to you. So Rahini says that self-compassion is hard, often not recognized. Why are humans so hard on themselves?
That's a good question. I don't know whether I have an answer to that. But generally, it's a human tendency to be hard on ourselves. And that's why it's important. Like all these skills, all the skills that I talked about are not easy unless you practice them. They're like a muscle, you need to, just like we really work towards weight loss, we also have to work towards our well-being. And self-compassion, yes, you're right, it's very hard, but it is something that, like, I had a client and I was trying to teach her about self-compassion. It took me at least 5 sessions, but before she really understood what I meant when I said self-compassion. So and even when I was talking, I told you it's not easy, but it's important for us, if we understand how to do that, to be able to kind of care for ourselves and give the same kindness that we give others, to give it to ourselves. Uh, yeah, I hope I've answered your question. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Gracie. I think there aren't any other questions. If anyone's got any questions, do put them in the chat, and I'll read them out. Um, yeah, I want to explore, and just for a minute or so, Gracie, if that's okay. I want to ask. I think there are a couple of teachers over here today who have joined. One of them is Rahini, and the other one is Karima, who's joined from Canada. And really, I wanted to ask, when you went back to school this term, Rahini, how did it feel? And did you feel you were prepared? Because this probably was the first time after a long time in school. You can unmute yourself.
I'll also stop sharing my screen.
Sure.
Yes. Hello, Gracie. I really enjoyed your talk. It was really, really good. Lots of help available on the slides. And yeah, I am a secondary school teacher in London, and it was very nice. It was very nice to interact with all the students in person, just like Manav was saying, because I think that social interaction is so important. And it's that's what we do, as teachers, and as humans, actually, not only teachers. We love the social interaction with all our friends and family and colleagues. So yeah, really, it was really enjoyable.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rohini. Rima, do you want to, because I believe you are you are a teacher as well. You want to give your experience?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for a wonderful session. There was a lot that I got out of the information shared, ways of applying the different ways of dealing with things, and how we can, apply the gratitude. I actually, I know I put the example of the students that were onboarding. So it's part of my role as being a manager. So um, we haven't, I'm from Toronto. We haven't gotten quite back to school, I mean, to work rather, face to face, but it's an experience. It's very different working from home and managing and integrating new students who are coming in virtually. So it's a really amazing experience. And I think that some of this information you share today, I'll be able to include that in some of the onboarding that we're doing with them, because I have other individuals that are working on onboarding, but there's always room to be able to adjust and make sure it's even a more exciting experience in a virtual environment, especially. So thank you.
Thank you, Karima. Gracie, I've got a question over here, and the program that you run at Coaston, how does the program work? Is What is the cost of the program? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So the program that we run, actually, we are a non-profit organization, which have head office in the US, and then we have a branch in India. So we get grants to organize these programs with vulnerable populations. So we don't. It's not something that we kind of give for a fee. We raise funds, and then we do these programs in these countries like Rwanda, Kenya, and India. In fact, I am right now looking at strategies on how to raise funds to take the program to other parts of India, because we have a lot of people who want the program, who are interested, and children who need it. So it's not something that we pay for. It's something that, as a non-profit, we have developed it, and we get grants, and we get this, do it in these different settings.
Great. Thank you for that. And I think perhaps, Gracie, if you and I can talk offline about this, I'd like to just look into this a little bit more, or explore it with you a little bit more. Um, we have Namara Jain. She is in Uganda, and she does a lot of work. Um, so, I want to try and see how we can fit all that together as well. So maybe I'll speak to Namara, and then maybe we can have a chat as well.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. Manav says, has smartphones seriously affected physical social interaction?
So with a lot of young people, they have found that the use of smartphones has kind of had an impact on, uh, to a certain extent, on relationships, because relationships are being kind of uh, uh, depend a lot on Instagram and on Twitter, using Twitter and Instagram, and the one-to-one has kind of taken a back with some young people. Uh, it also has brought a lot of young people are not like using a lot of their time using their smartphone, and there's a lot less time with exercise that you need to be healthy, or certain activities that you need for your well-being. So in that sense, yes, to the young people who have let smartphone take charge of their lives and given up certain activities that would help their well-being, it has had an impact. But there are others who have used it to their advantage. They use the smartphone to kind of like, especially during lockdown, a lot of young people are using their smartphone to get into, say, community activities that are online, or getting into physical activities, which are done through Zoom or through other modes online. So I think it's both. I have no data to say where does it lie, but yeah, it's been a boon as well as a pain. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for that. There aren't any more questions in the chat, and we are just after 2 o'clock. So in the UK, so just after 6:30 in
Yes.
in India. Yes. Um, so I think we are going to wrap this up now. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Gracie, for presenting this really great topic, and the way it was presented, what you've talked about. I particularly took quite a lot away as well. And let's have a conversation probably sometime this week offline, and I'd like to explore a few things with you. Thank you so
Thank
much for the presenting this topic. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you.